Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn Melanie. I thank you today for joining me for another episode of my series, Managing Self, when every week, hopefully, I can connect with you, the listener, by being transparent as I possibly can on how I manage my MS monster, MS, multiple sclerosis. First of all, regarding my recent start of physical therapy to, to better attain a stable stance and then even a balanced gait, my walking. I started that last week. I just wanted to say, first of all, I want to positive report that it's actually working. My hard work of thinking during my execution of just the fundamental movements of walking, I've noticed a definite improvement. And when I do think about walking or standing, with a stable stance, I'm finding that I can do it better. My execution has actually improved. So I'll see what tricks and tips a therapist has for me tomorrow. I haven't gone this week because I had a dentist appointment. So I'll go tomorrow and I'll get you updates on that. So looking forward to that. Anyway, like I said, dentist appointment this week kind of threw a curveball in my schedule, but anyway, I'll get back on track eventually, like I always do. Anyway, this week I want to start out with a few questions for you to consider. Being honest with myself helps me, and perhaps you'll learn more about yourself during the course of your own responses to the questions. One common question that I often consider is how do you manage failures? A less common one is how do you manage successes? I want to repeat that one because I want you to really think about that one. Even if I don't get to it later on in this episode, I want you to think about that. How do you manage your success? How do you manage the weather forecast? Lastly, how do you manage your multiple sclerosis? And this last question is not just a smart, you know what I want to say. It's not just a smart but rhetorical question, but as similar as they are regarding their respective natures of unpredictability, those last two presented questions are quite different for each and every one of us. That's why I posed the two questions. Different, but the same. Really? Yeah. I think 100% different, but the same. One example that I can think of is my particular instance or situation. I live in North Texas, and 2 days ago I was strutting around with a sleeveless shirt. Went to the gym. Left the gym. It was the sun was coming down, but it was still pretty warm. Tank top, sandals on. As I left the gym, I ran a couple of errands. Today, I've actually wimped out because of the weather. I'm actually sitting here in my office, all cozy, warm, preparing this episode as I listen and literally watch through my office window. The wind is forcefully blowing. It's blowing the trees, the leaves. I'm just watching it blow. Like I said, I'm sitting here and I'm dressed to go to the gym, but I wimped out because it's cold. Well, it's cool, but there's a cold front with a forecast of snow flurries in a couple of hours. That might be an exaggerated forecast and still this excitement, around the Metroplex, because basically snow around here is a big deal. Usually it leads to school closures, etc., because most folks around here in this Dallas, Texas area, like myself, a native New Orleanian, we don't know how to deal with it, particularly driving. But since we're dealing with Mother Nature, in my respect, she has earned it, so I'll sit here. Okay, enough with my silly analogies, etc. How do I manage my successes? How do I manage my shortcomings? How do I manage? How do I manage? My the weather forecast? How do I manage my multiple sclerosis? Basically, there's all these I manage with one commonality, and it's not so much as how I manage them, but it's how I react to each of these scenarios. I believe I have a choice, free will to choose how I'm going to react to each of these situations, if I do so at all. Today the temperatures are dropping rather rapidly. I chose to sit right here, not even bother getting in my car with the pretty comfy heated seats. I chose to just, no gym today. I did post on a couple of social media sites, asking people their opinions. Not that it was going to make a hard difference or different stance on what I do, but just ask kind of what their opinion was on, should I stay in or go to the gym. And despite my claimer that the temperatures were dropping, most said go to the gym. Even most of my MS buddies, said go to the gym. And I'm like, seriously? I chose to not be exposed to extreme temperature changes and also avoid the rush of coming home after dusk. Why? Because of the extreme cold I may be faced with, the stress of driving in traffic, after work traffic, and I know that stress isn't a positive force yielding good MS existence, for myself and for pretty much for any of us with MS. I'm certain I'll return to the gym tomorrow after my physical therapy appointment. Well, where there I'll be managing. I guess by this situation, me not going to the gym because of the forecast, that's me managing the not absolute 100% accurate weather forecast. So that's how I did that. For the past almost 21 years, I've lived in the Dallas, Texas Metroplex. Being forced to, over the course of time, I've been forced to drive from work on icy roads, which weren't really an issue in New Orleans. In March, in Dallas, I remember the roads were icy in March when the meteorologist really never saw it coming. Else I would have probably left the office early that day to beat the rush hour traffic with the addition of the inclement weather, but I didn't. So I just had to kind of figure it out or manage. I did see my first snowstorm coming, or shall I say developing, when I left the hotel room and headed to work. I was working out of town. I headed to the train station located in Lincoln, Nebraska in 1997. I was dressed warmly with my first ever winter coat, that is, of my adulthood. I had gloves, earmuffs, scarves, all my newly purchased gear. But I'll never forget, well, it was just so weird because I was driving up this incline of a snow-packed road. It had snowed, and it was, I guess, I think me driving up the road of snow, which I had never done before, I think it was as successful as my mom and dad driving for the first time to my house in Texas in September 1997 after Hurricane Katrina had hit New Orleans. My mom and dad, they drove out here without a GPS unit. They didn't have Siri. They didn't have Google Maps. They didn't have MapsGo. They didn't have anything. They just managed. They just literally got in the car to get to safer ground, so to speak, the best that they could with just their perseverance. Where am I going with this? Well, I think these extreme weather conditions are like my MS, and probably a lot like yours. Sometimes it's forecasted, predicted or estimated, that is the future event or the trend with, let's say, relatively okay accuracy. But mathematically speaking, I'm more inclined to lean on forecasts, predictions, what say you. I tend to lean on these more if I personally have some degree of control in the outcome. Kind of like, If it was permissible for me to play the tables, the crap tables at Vegas with my own provided loaded dice, I know how they're loaded, I know how they're going to react. I think I'd probably bet a little more liberally and freely if this was the case. Well, I'm not a high roller by any means, and I don't consider myself a gambler. Although for entertainment purposes, I have taken a few frivolous hours to squander $5, $10, even $20. Though I'm not quite sure if that $20 counts, as it was a funds from a promotional coupon. Come in, try our casino. We're new in town. Here's a $20. I call it bait fear. Bait money to try to get you hooked. Not successful with me. Anyway, I swear. I think that some people really swear that gambling is the same as the forecast. I don't think so. Not at all. And some people believe it's the same as MS. It may happen. It may not happen. It's all predictable. We can calculate some mathematical prediction. I strongly disagree with that. I think it's hardly the same as a forecast, the weather forecast, that is. Regardless, I understand that few things in life are 100%. That is, 100% certain it will happen. Definitely. Just no exceptions. And the one thing I know will happen is I will perish from this earth. Now, the when, the where, the how, that's all to be determined. As far as all other things, it depends. So, how do you manage your failures or shortcomings? How do you manage your successes? First of all, I accept my shortcomings or losses. I don't like to use the word the failures, but I accept my shortcomings as long as I know that I wholeheartedly gave it my all. My successes or my wins, I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for each and one of them. I'm thankful for each day that I'm blessed to walk on this earth, with mobility assistance or not. Voltaire said, God gave us God gave us the gift of life. It is up to us to give ourselves the gift of living well. That's why it kind of sums up my take on, I know that I can't make everything turn out the way that I want to. I talked about the kind of having, playing the crap tables with loaded dice. Ideally, it'd be really nice if we could, if I could continue on my MS journey with quote-unquote loaded dice, where I had some sort of advantage that I could control the outcome. Unfortunately, that's not possible today. Today it isn't. But I can have a say in what affects my life, what affects my body, and more importantly, what affects my management of myself, the management or dealing with my multiple sclerosis. Now that, I will take the wheel. I'll take the wheel pretty forcefully. When it comes to my MS, I want to be in the driver's seat. Well, definitely steering or calling the turns and exits to take. Sometimes I don't really feel like driving, but I know that I may get to my destination, or let's say point B. I know I get there quicker sometimes if I take the tollway, or certain roads, but I also know that a lot of times the back streets with traffic lights, with its slow, controlled traffic flow, sometimes I like to take those because I know there's less stress there. It's not the hectic. People are gotta get there. So, sometimes I decide to take those roads. You know why? Because that's more in line with me staying stress less with MS. Okay, enough with my silly analogies, etc. How do I manage my successes? How do I manage my shortcomings? How do I manage my the weather forecast? How do I manage my multiple sclerosis? Basically, there's all these I manage with one commonality, and it's not so much as how I manage them, but it's how I react to each of these scenarios. I believe I have a choice, free will to choose how I'm going to react to each of these situations, if I do so at all. Today the temperatures are dropping rather rapidly. I chose to sit right here, not even bother getting in my car with the pretty comfy heated seats. I chose to just, no gym today. I did post on a couple of social media sites, asking people their opinions. Not that it was going to make a hard difference or different stance on what I do, but just ask kind of what their opinion was on, should I stay in or go to the gym. And despite my claimer that the temperatures were dropping, most said go to the gym. Even most of my MS buddies, said go to the gym. And I'm like, seriously? I chose to not be exposed to extreme temperature changes and also avoid the rush of coming home after dusk. Why? Because of the extreme cold I may be faced with, the stress of driving in traffic, after work traffic, and I know that stress isn't a positive force yielding good MS existence, for myself and for pretty much for any of us with MS. I'm certain I'll return to the gym tomorrow after my physical therapy appointment. Well, where there I'll be managing. I guess by this situation, me not going to the gym because of the forecast, that's me managing the not absolute 100% accurate weather forecast. So that's how I did that. Now, I will make my 11 o'clock appointment tomorrow, no doubt. I'll be on time, and it will be a bit chilly, I know, but I'll prepare because my takeaway will far exceed any minor inconveniences that I have. Like I told the therapist last week, I want to maintain my walking mobility and perhaps even improve the quality of my walking, regarding stability and a fluid motion in the execution. So I will make that appointment. Torrential rain, sleet, snow, ice, heat wave, whatever, I'll make the appointment tomorrow, no doubt, because doing so promotes the best interest of my successful management of myself, successful management of my MS. Those individuals who disagree with my decision to stay home, well, I really don't care. I say this because, not one of them have my MS. Maybe their own, but not my MS. Not one of them have, not one of them has my 10 fingers and have seen them or witnessed them or experienced them turning blue because of cold air like I have. Or have experienced my MS shaky leg. Again, mine. Maybe their own, but not my MS shaky leg. I know mine's brought on when I've pushed myself too hard, perhaps at the gym, or I'm 100% certain not one of these individuals have fallen. May have fallen, but nobody's taken my MS falls. My falls have been brought on by a loss of my strength and from increased fatigue, resulting in ultimately a loss of balance and unfortunately a fall. Basically, what I want to say is that I'll be there tomorrow at my physical therapy appointment because I know that it's up to me to give myself that gift of living well. It's up to me to take all the opportunities that I have that promote living well. Any opportunity that's available, that'll promote healthy existence with MS, and basically shunning all others. Okay, so some of you listeners out there probably know a little bit about me. You may even know a lot about me. I'm a very open book about my interest in fitness, my participation in fitness, how fitness really keeps me happy, but it also helps me deal with my MS for almost 20 years now. I know that I look strong. I know that I am strong. I'm MS strong. Today I can walk, I can hear, I can talk, I can see. I can use the bathroom by myself without any accidents. Why would I do anything other than things to keep me in this condition? I don't live in a perfect world. I don't have perfect health. but I am forever thankful for my abilities. And with that being said, I want, anyone out there second guessing my choices, whether it be in the past or in the present, or maybe you may consider doing so in the future. I basically just I ask you to please think before you speak. Think before you speak. Whether you're second guessing my choices, whether it be my choices or decisions, or worse, of simply second guessing my appearance. Appearance is what I do. Appearance is what I don't do. And appearance of why. I ask you to please think before you speak. I say this because I'm actually disappointed with my personal reactions to some inaccurate accusations of my behavior. And, I say this because I'm not going to blame anyone for their interpretations of anything that I do or that they see or think. Like I said, I'm taking the I'm taking the blame, but I'm most disappointed in myself for not being able to control my actions in a more favorable manner. Like I said, the actions that were questioned were actions or behavior that actually I very strongly have an aversion to. Not particularly any individual participating in such actions, but I guess actions that, because I so strongly value my body, my temple, I don't participate in some activities that I think even if I think it can potentially harm my body, whether it be illegal or illegal activity or not. Some things I just don't do. I always say never say never. Never, never is a strong word. If I do stray, and I don't want to say stray, but if I do participate in such activities, it may be just for fun, maybe something I do, but not by any means on a regular basis where I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have 100% full faculties. Funny, when I started thinking about what I was going to actually share with you on this area, I thought of my aunt, and she said, she always tells people who she disagrees with, or she basically dismisses their point of view or their assumptions about her. She generally says, kiss it where I won't finish. I think you know what I mean, but I'm not going to say that because I guess like I often say or promote or want people to be aware that, others' ignorance will not define me. Someone's, just because someone thinks something about me, and especially if it's not true, that's not going to define me. Like I said, this incident actually just kind of came up as I was preparing this because, as I was talking about managing success or failures or managing your MS, again, this falls under managing my MS or managing myself. And I think managing myself involves managing my temper. Again, stress isn't conducive to a healthy lifestyle with MS. So I just want to kind of put that out there that, like I said, I am strong, very strong physically, considering my stats. But more importantly, I like to be. I consider myself pretty strong-willed and strong in mind and in thought and in control of the things that I do. Just as I won't let others' ignorance about me define me, I'll never let MS define me. I have MS, it doesn't have me. I won't let it define me. I mean, like I said, I accept that, I'm dealing with it and I do have MS, but I like to focus on, again, how do I deal with it successfully. And I'm going to end with another one of my silly analogies or metaphors, what have you. After working in Lincoln, Nebraska, and driving the snow for the first time, probably the only time ever, I learned what I was supposed to do. Start with a bit of acceleration, before I go up the hill, and because you need the momentum to get up to the top of the hill. And once you're on the top of the hill, don't try to power, up on the hill. Doing so would cause the car to lose traction, just like trying to explain to someone who's not willing to accept your explanations of your behaviors or why you do things or don't do things. It's kind of like spinning your wheels, basically wasting energy. Or as we say in MS terms, wasting MS spoons. Now, the most important thing ever is to do not stop. Once you're driving a vehicle up an icy road, don't stop unless you have to. And I say this because if you do, you'll definitely get stuck or proceed to go backwards. Like myself, I'm sure none of you want to go down a slippery road backwards with a car on an icy road or with MS. Win or lose, positive or negative, how you react matters most. Never give up pursuing what makes you happy, what is in line with you having a positive life with or without multiple sclerosis. This is Dawn Melanie, and I look forward to you joining me next week for another episode of my series, Managing Self. Thanks.